Coming up on show 776, the Ford Escape, or maybe the Kuga, as you would know it. The plug-in hybrid version of that is shining in April. Stick around, I'll tell you more. Plus on the podcast today, in China, Tesla made a lot more of the Model 3s than they actually sold. I wonder why. There's a review in for the Porsche Cayenne Turbo S e-hybrid, and they like it. Gigafactory Berlin continues, and it's on track, says a local official. And not quite a car, and not quite a motorcycle. We update you on the ELECTRAMECCANICA Solo. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. In fact, wherever you're listening in the world, welcome to EV News Daily, the edition for Tuesday, 12th of May. My name is Martin Lee, and I go through every EV story so you don't have to. Well, thank you to myev.com for helping make the show. It is a marketplace specifically designed purely for electric vehicles, so you won't be filtering out the fossil gobblers on here. It's a totally free marketplace, and it really simplifies how to buy and how to sell an EV in the US. You can learn about them if you're still EV curious, and you can check out myev.com anytime you want to. Let's start in China, and a couple of stories here. First of all, the plug-in hybrid version of the Ford Escape, and if you're listening in Europe, you would know it as the Ford Kuga. I wonder why they call the same car different things around the world. Maybe it's a legal thing if the name is taken. Maybe it's a marketing thing. I don't know. It'd be nice if we could call the same thing everywhere, like, I don't know, Tesla do. Was the second best-selling new energy vehicle in China last month. The second best-selling one. And when I say new energy vehicle, okay, that is plug-in hybrids and full EVs. This is a plug-in hybrid. The wholesale shipments, so not cars registered and not cars delivered, but the wholesale shipments out of Ford was 3,999 last month in China. Missed it by one, almost 4,000. And second only to a car from BYD. How would I say this? It's spelt Q-I-N. In Chinese, how would I pronounce Q-I-N? Chin? Anyway, that sold 5,000. Well, that shipped 5,096 of them. Number one was that car from BYD. Number two was the Ford Escape / Kuga with one off 4,000. And in third place was the full electric Tesla Model 3. The specs of the Escape / Kuga, plug-in hybrid, it'll do 31 miles, that's 50 kilometers of all-electric range. It's got a 14.4 kilowatt-hour battery pack, and it's front-wheel drive. Well, from the Inside EVs forum, one of the commenters noted that the build and price of that car is now included for Ford's site in the US market. Having a look, the premium over the hybrid, the soft hybrid 48-volt system, is about $4,700, less than the federal rebate of $6,825, front-wheel drive only. And the Louisville plant where the Escape and Corsair are manufactured, for instance, is coming back online in less than a week. May the 18th is the scheduled date for that factory to come back online, next Monday. And it's on the Ford UK website. I don't know how long it's been there because, to be honest with you, I'm not massively familiar with this plug-in hybrid, so I thought I'd better educate myself. From the Ford UK website, the Kuga's plug-in hybrid technology combines the 14.4 kilowatt-hour battery pack with a 2.5 litre Duratec petrol engine, and that's a much bigger petrol engine than many car makers combine with an electric motor. So I wondered whether a little EcoBoost small, 1.4 litre petrol engine would have done from Ford, but what do I know? They've had to go for a big 2.5 litre lump on this. The hybrid battery will recapture energy while braking, so it's got all the regen stuff that you would expect. It's got 4 modes. Actually, it's got 4 drive modes. There's what they call EV mode, which is they call EV Now. And EV Now will run on electric. EV Later will run on petrol and save. It's like a conservation mode. EV Auto will let the car work out where you're navigating to and the best way to manage the power. And EV Charge will use the petrol in the engine to charge up the battery so that it's fully charged when you arrive at your destination. Well, that's useful if you're heading into towns and cities that are now zero emissions zones. I configured the plug-in version. There's about 4 or 5 different trim levels. And what what I find a bit awkward about configurators, and maybe, again, I've said this before, I'm a simpleton. I like the way Tesla do business. I like the way Apple do business, which is, what phone do you want? The big one or the small one? Like, oh, okay, I'll have the big one, please. What colour do you want it in? Grey or gold? And like, that's it. I don't mind being restricted on choice. But on the Ford configurator, pretty typical car maker configurator, I think overly complicated. So the first thing that I had to do was choose a trim level. The first thing I wanted to do was choose how the damn thing is powered. So on the configurator, I wanted to choose the plug-in hybrid, but you can't do that. You got to choose your trim level first. And this is the case with the Ford Mach-E. So it must be a Ford thing, or maybe it's everyone. Okay, so I picked a trim level and then navigated through the petrol options and the diesel options. Then you have to choose by gearbox. Well, there's manual or automatic. Well, the electric would be neither, but I presume the electric would be automatic, but I couldn't find it in there. Well, it turns out that in the trim level that is the base trim level, they don't make the plug-in hybrid in that version. But it took me ages to work that out. So I chose the second most expensive of the 5 trim levels. Well, from that, I could get into the gearbox configurator and choose auto, and from that, I could then choose plug-in hybrid. So the cheapest I could get this was £33,000, using the free paint colour and no extra options. Of course, that is quite expensive for that kind of car, but of course you are paying, I guess, for a lot of battery and plug-in hybrid technology as well. It's got a good range, 31 miles, 50 kilometres. It's a good plug-in hybrid. I've not driven it. I know very little about it. Here we call it the Kuga, in the US and China calling it the Escape. A little update there on what Ford are doing with plug sockets. I must admit, it kind of passed me by a little bit. I don't mind sharing that with you. You and I share everything with you, so I don't mind being honest if I've missed it sometimes or dropped the ball a bit, but I'm fully up to speed on that car now. Staying with China, I mentioned Model 3 a moment ago. Well, Tesla remains on top of the electric car manufacturers in China, although sales numbers for April are lower than anticipated. According to the CPCA, the China Passenger Car Association, and the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, Tesla sales, so that is, again, what I mentioned, wholesale shipments. So not car registrations and not cars that were delivered to customers. The shipments were... And the production numbers in April went in different directions, says Inside EVs. The production numbers of the made-in-China Model 3, and they're still only making the Standard Range Plus right now, was at a record high. They did really well over the month of April, and that included a bit of shutdown time as well. 11,211, wow, were made. Makes it the most produced EV in China. Sales, wholesale shipments rather, were a different matter. They were just 3,635. From the 11,200 they made, they only shipped 3,635. That's the third best result for the month. Looking at the top 3 producers, Tesla was number 1, BYD was number 2, GAC was third. And looking at the models, Model 3 was number 1. It's the only one Tesla makes, so it's the same number. The GAC Ion was second, and the Neo ES6 was in third place in terms of production. Well, as for sales, what that means is a plug-in hybrid, the Ford, was actually ahead of the Model 3, because the Ford that we mentioned at the beginning of the show, Escape Kuga, was 4,000. Model 3 was less. So that is not too cool to be outsold by a plug-in hybrid, but there is a price drop coming for the Model 3. Has China had the price drop yet? Now, I know I've reported that on the podcast before, as in, hey, Tesla have lowered the price, but I didn't know whether that was an immediate effect or whether it came in at a certain time, so I'm going to go and research that now. But I do know that Tesla have dropped the price of the Model 3, so maybe that affected the sales. Plus, Tesla have made the Model 3 long range now available on the website to order. So perhaps some people that had been in line for a Model 3 Standard Range Plus have gone, you know what, I want the rear-wheel drive long range. And also on the website as well for Tesla China, remember they added the performance version. Don't think that is going to interfere with April's numbers because it doesn't ship until Q1 next year. There's got to be some reasons there how they made 3 times as many cars as they sold. So I'll carry on looking into that. I'm sure that future months are going to pick up. There was a holiday period as well in April, so I'm not sure whether Tesla's delivery people work through that holiday or not. Either way, it's a story we'll watch. Hey, so here's a review of a plug-in hybrid car, the Porsche Cayenne Turbo S e-hybrid. And it's been road tested by Autoblog, and they really like it. Taken from the standard e-hybrid, which you can get the Porsche Cayenne, they take out the 100 kilowatt motor and the 14.1 kilowatt hour battery, and they put it into the Turbo S. From the Cayenne Turbo, they take the V8, twin-turbo V8, 541 horsepower. They combine those forces, and then you get the Turbo S e-hybrid. So, thanks to the electrical power, this new Porsche Cayenne will produce, 670 brake horsepower. And with a full battery, you will go, I think it's about 15 miles. I mean, this is a big car, right? The Porsche Cayenne is a big car. So, I think real world about 15 miles on e-power. If you drive normally, don't try and hypermile, but don't floor it all the time as well. The base price for this stunning beast of a car, and hopefully you'll do a lot of electric miles in this $164,000. Yeah, if you have to ask the price, you probably can't afford one. You can option them generously, as you can all Porsches, up to about $192,000 as well. Hell of a car. Wowzers. With the electrical power, it just makes it just incredible. A car, not for me, I like my all EVs, but for many people will like these kind of interim plug-in hybrids before we get to full electrics. For some people as well. Some people are making the jump already. Okay, let's talk Tesla Gigafactory Berlin. Construction is on track in Brandenburg in Germany, set to begin construction with no significant delays, according to the German Economy Minister Peter Altmaier. Discover the Teslarati website, said on Monday, yesterday, the 11th of May, that he didn't expect any significant delays to occur at Tesla's first European production plant. Reuters reporting that Altmaier explained he doesn't believe that delays will occur because of the pandemic, and that their plan to begin building cars, the Model Y will be the first model out of Giga Berlin, will begin in summer 2021. So, an update on this cute three-wheeler. Not quite a car and not quite a motorcycle is how the New York Times describes the ELECTRAMECCANICA Solo, a tiny three-wheel electric car available in Los Angeles very soon. 90% of Americans who commute by car, truck, van or motorcycle do it alone. 90%, according to the Census Bureau. So they're positioning themselves as the right-sized alternative to hauling around all of that excess tonnage. The Solo takes up about a quarter of the space of a typical SUV. From the front, it looks like a car. If you stand in front of this thing and stare barrel down the front of the car, it looks like a car, because it's got two wheels at the front. And all the usual headlights, the bonnet, the grille, it just looks normal. As soon as you start to move around the car, you realise this is a little bit different. From the side and behind, the car tapers down to just one wheel at the rear, and the New York Times says that technically it's a motorcycle, although it's fully enclosed. It drives like a car, it's got a steering wheel, it's got foot pedals, it's got one seat, but it has got two doors, so you can get in from either side. Having three wheels, it's not subject to crash testing by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration that they have to do for street legal cars, but it does have all the safety that you want, seatbelt and roll cage and all that kind of stuff. The new production version of the Solo is actually being made in China right now in partnership with the Chinese motorcycle manufacturer Zhongshen Industrial Group. Now, they make 3 million motorbikes a year. They know how to build things. The ELECTRAMECCANICA Solo will be sold direct, a la Tesla, these days. It's going to cost $18,500, and it'll do 100 miles of pure electric range. A cutesy little three-wheeler that'll get you where you want to go in the dry, in the comforts. Being sold, I suppose, in the beginning in California. So rain isn't too much of a problem for large parts of the year. In the UK, the government have just fast-tracked an electric scooter trial. The Department for Transport is bringing e-scooter trials forward from 2021 to June. They've brought it forward by a year because of the virus. Trials were intended for 4 local authorities originally, but the trials have been extended to every region in the country that wants to do them. You see, better air quality has been one of the few benefits of the current crisis, and e-scooter trials are a way to try and preserve that gain, if you like. Says the website News Chain, £10 million of additional support for car charging points on the streets have just been announced by the UK government in light of the growing popularity of EVs and to keep the clean air revolution going. We're in a bit of a fix in this country because e-scooters haven't properly been regulated. The only thing they are is illegal. You can't ride them on the pavement because you'll get fined. And you can't ride them on the road because if you have a driving licence, they'll give you points and a fine. So what do? At the moment, you don't ride an electric scooter. Now, there's none of those electric scooter hire companies that are popular, very popular in places like Paris as well, and companies like Lime. So we don't have those because they're not allowed. Plenty of people I know have bought electric scooters. You are allowed to use them on private land. Plenty of people I know do bend those rules. Particularly when I'm up in London, I see them all the time. People riding them on the pavements particularly, and a few people with helmets riding them on the road, and I wish they wouldn't because London roads are pretty dangerous. When I lived in London, I used to cycle to work every day. And that is only for the brave, right? So they do need to do this. They need to set some rules in this country. And if they can do that soon, I think that electric scooters are such an amazing way to do commutes, to do last mile stuff because they fold down to a very small size. You can literally just pop them over your shoulder and take them into an office. You can take them on public transport as well. They don't take up any room. They make sense if you can ride them on the pavement or in cycle lanes. London is pretty well invested in cycle lanes. If you can perhaps regulate them so they're only available to ride in certain safe spaces, away from traffic, away from pedestrians, it's brilliant. I absolutely love it. If I had a little electric scooter that I was allowed... I don't live in London anymore. When I need to work there, I commute in. I live in the suburbs now. And so if I need to get to my nearest shop for a pint of milk and a loaf of bread, then it's about a 25-minute walk, probably a 3-minute drive. And we drive it most of the time. It's just easier, isn't it? Because we're lazy, so we get in the electric car and drive around the corner. I really should walk it more. I really should cycle it more. But, get the cycle out of the garage and all that kind of stuff. We're lazy. An e-scooter... well, I would do that because you can leave it by the front door or just grab it and take it to the shops. And you know what? Do those little errands. I think they're such an amazing idea. What do you think about electric scooters? I don't know if I'm getting overexcited about them. Let me know your thoughts in the comments or email me. Moving on to electric boats, and engineers at the University of New South Wales in Australia have demonstrated that island communities could reduce the use of their fossil fuels by using electric boats as a power source, says the website Create Digital. Now, electric boats often have a large surface area if they are covered, and you can use the roofs of those boats to put solar panels on. Electric boats have the advantages as a power generation source as well. Using those PV panels on the roof of the boats, they can produce electricity. They haven't got to draw it down from the grid because they can move and they're not tethered. They can move away from overcast areas. They can go to sunny conditions, but then they can go to be used as a power source if the grid goes down on remote islands or for island communities. Another amazing way that EVs support the rest of our life. And a final feel-good story for you as well. Lockdown has helped the UK break a record for the longest ever streak without burning a single piece of coal since the Industrial Revolution. The nation's power hasn't been supplied by coal power for almost a month now. It's extended Britain's longest ever run without relying on fossil fuels since 1882. Let me correct that. We are burning gas. Lockdown restrictions because of the virus pandemic and a spell of very good weather. We've had some very nice spring, early summer weather actually, has limited the need for energy for the last 28 days. And usage is dropping even further. We've had a bank holiday weekend where prices went negative on the wholesale market again. So I got paid to charge my electric car. Brilliant! According to the website iNews, the UK's last coal generator last operated at midnight on the 9th of April. Yeah, that is over a month now, isn't it? Brilliant news. Right, question of the week. Here we go, it is back. What's your favourite charging app and route planner and why? Let me know where you are, where you live in the world, and what you like to use, and we'll compile them for fellow EV drivers or those that are EV curious. Email me, hello@evnewsdaily.com, or leave a comment on the YouTube show. Thank you to 230 patrons of the podcast. You fund this program, and if you want to know what Patreon's all about, and you're curious about what this thing is that I talk about all the time at the end of the show, Patreon is the website, patreon.com/EV News Daily. My premium partners are Phil Roberts of Electric Future, Brad Crosby, Avid Technology, Brightsmith Group for clean tech talent, Porsche of The Village in Cincinnati, and Audi of Cincinnati East. If you can, leave a little review on Apple Podcasts. It helps grow the show. There are 775 previous episodes, all for free, wherever you get podcasts from. The blog is evnewsdaily.com. If you subscribe in your podcast app, it means that you don't have to think about downloading the show ever again. You get it first and free and automatically. Come and say hi on social media by searching EV News Daily. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow. And do remember, there's no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.